The Philadelphia Eagles have officially put fear into the entire NFL, and it might come back to screw them, but it's not exactly what you think, and honestly, it might not even matter. So we'll talk about that. Also, the Eagles reveal some new coaching staff changes, and is Howie Roseman zoning in on one potential prospect that would be the perfect fit for Vic Fangio's defense. We'll get into it all, but welcome into A to Z Philly. I'm RB. Do me a favor, go down below, like this video, and subscribe to our channel. We will start it off with a piece of news that dropped a couple days ago. Eagles have come to terms with offensive lineman Matt Pryor on a one-year deal. Matt Pryor, former draft pick of the Eagles back in 2018, 4th round, and he's been a journeyman, right? He's been around to a lot of different places, probably more of a depth piece at this point, a backup, but he did start a lot of games last year with the Bears. And my favorite thing about Matt Pryor in general, and why I think this is a sneaky signing, is this right here. Look at the total snaps that he has played. This is on bleedinggreennation.com. The guy has experience at every offensive line spot outside of center. And when you look at the Eagles situation right now, maybe Matt Pryor can be a guy not only to come in and fill some shoes if, somebody goes down, God forbid, but let's just say at right guard, right? You lose Mekhi Becton, Tyler Steen, Kenyon Green fighting for that spot. Maybe you bring an older, experienced vet in, and you bring in a guy who can just, stimulate that competition. And I really like that. And I think Matt Pryor, will be a nice backup wherever they need him, whether it's tackle, guard, doesn't matter. This guy's been around. And the Eagles also previously signed Kendall Lamb, who will also be in a similar role. So I think these are good patch signings by Howie Roseman, right? He's patching some holes. They lost Fred Johnson. Well, here is the replacement. So very happy to have Matt Pryor back, even through all of his ups and downs here in Philadelphia. Now, Eagles make some coaching staff changes, all right? Some of these we already knew, but they make them official. Kevin Patullo, the OC, Parks Frazier, the passing game coordinator, and Scott Loeffler, the quarterback's coach. But we have some other names as well. Tyler Yelk, a defensive assistant. Greg Austin, assistant offensive line coach. Montgomery Van Gorder, offensive quality control coach. And Cole Peterson, assistant to the head coach. Now, I could go down the list and, bring up where all these guys came from and what they're doing. The fact of the matter is I like that the Eagles are bringing in more eyes. They're bringing in younger guys as well, right, who will hopefully eventually mold themselves into some of these spots where some of the greats have been. And look, I hope Stout stays here forever. I think he should be a Hall of Famer. But you bring in a guy like Greg Austin and you promote him to assistant offensive line coach, right? Maybe he is the successor, right? You never know. So, look, all these titles, all these names, we kind of get wrapped up sometimes and like, hey, we have this guy doing this and this guy has 3 different titles. What do they do? You know what I mean? It's nice to have these guys here in the building and be able to promote from within. So I'm a big advocate of that, and I think it's important, and I like what the Eagles are doing. Speaking of what the Eagles are doing, they're constantly dominating the NFL, and nobody can stop it. And it's because of their secret sauce. It's their secret weapon. It's not a secret anymore. But ladies and gentlemen, the Tush Push has taken over the NFL. And as we've talked about many times before, the only reason that the Eagles can do it and other teams can't successfully is because they have a mammoth of an offensive line. They have Saquon in the backfield. We don't even mention that. And Jalen Hurts can squat up to 600 pounds, right? So you have literally the perfect mix, the perfect combination. Now, we have thought this entire time, all right, teams are whining about it and, they're going to try to propose a ban again. There's never been any smoke. But now, Diana Rossini puts out this conflicting report after a report came out a couple days before saying that there was, going to be no ban whatsoever. Pretty sure, like, the Eagles are fine. Diana Rossini puts this out and says, the sense I get from around the league is that momentum around banning the Tush Push is growing. I think they have to have 24 out of 32 owners ban it. Or at least vote to ban it. So, that's a lot, right? And I feel very annoyed at this. First off, shout out to Jeff Kerr. I agree 1,000%. He re-quotes this and says, wait until they hear how high the Eagles percentage was on QB sneaks before the Tush Push. Like I said, you have all the blocks in place, right? Like the Eagles still have a great quarterback who's strong, an offensive line, etc. So if you go back and look at the data beforehand, they were already good at the QB sneak. The QB sneak is a play that you can easily convert when you have the right pieces in place. And like Warren Sharp here says, people forget how good QB sneaks are, right? Like, think about it. Logically, you're a yard short or a very, couple inches short. Like, it's not that hard to convert. And what really grinds my gears is this. QB sneak and tush push conversion rates on 3rd or 4th and 1 since 2022. Eagles are at a really good 90%. The league average is 84%. But for the team that's whining and complaining and crying about it, the Green Bay Packers, look at their percentage, 92%. Now, granted, more of that comes on the traditional quarterback sneak, but the Packers are also a team that does the tush push. They tried it against the Eagles. They just failed because they don't have the personnel that the Eagles have. And maybe if you ever thought about it logically, Green Bay, the Eagles are so damn good at it, maybe they know how to stop it as well. So the Packers have actually been more successful with these short yardage plays than the Philadelphia Eagles. And they're crying and complaining about it, even though they try to do it themselves. Like Warren Sharp says, teams just need to use QB sneaks as often as the Eagles do. It's in their playbook. And Nick Sirianni took offense to it before, saying, hey, this is something we practice a lot. We go through this a lot at practice. Other teams probably don't. They just throw the guys out there. But it's been a very successful play. And I think my number one argument for keeping it is this right here. Ari Mirov says, the NFL's internal data shows that the tush-push play led to 0 injuries. Banning the play would make no sense. And a lot of talking heads said the same thing. Like, look, you have to learn how to stop it. If it was a play where guys were going down constantly and it was just hurting the product of the game, I think there'd be a very good argument. But if you go back and look at the data and 0 people have been injured, and that's one of the main things people are whining about, then what's the point? They also say it's not a football play. You have all these different formations, and you're telling me that an iteration of a QB sneak isn't a football play? Get out of here. Get stronger. Get tougher. Get better players. Learn how to stop it, man. He says if it's being banned, it's simply because the Eagles are too good at it. Exactly. And the Eagles are going to keep doing it. And guess what, Green Bay and the rest of the NFL? It might not matter anyway, because if the Philadelphia Eagles get a tush-push ban, guess what they're going to do? They're going to find another loophole. They're going to find another way to kind of bend whatever rule you put into place, and they're going to keep being successful because that's what the Eagles do. They're a competent coaching staff, and they figure it out. So that is my rant on the tush push, and I'm getting so tired of these people whining about it. Like, in any sport ever, even you, like, if you've played a sport before, you know, when you don't know how to do something or you're going up against a really good competitor in the opposition, do you just give up? You just say, oh, I can't do it, so we're going to ban you. Come on, man. It's ridiculous. The Eagles could be locking in on Malachi Starks. ESP here on Twitter says, current number 1 player on my big board is Malachi Starks. The team has strong interest in him, and he checks off the biggest need they have on defense. And we kind of talked about this the other day in our last video, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm big on Malachi Starks. I think he's definitely in my top 3 right now if I had to choose. I mean, I know we're still, a couple weeks away, but this guy checks every box. I mean, first off, he's a national champion at Georgia. You know how he loves his Bulldogs. He has played with Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Keely Ringo. He could play man coverage, zone coverage, in the box. He is an excellent tackler. He's physical, and he just feels like a perfect Vic Fangio piece. Like, right when you name all that off, it's like, oh my gosh, this guy can really play. He's explosive. I mean, the only thing that he needs to work on is just some technique stuff, and that can easily be coached at the next level. And you come into a program like the Philadelphia Eagles, right? You have the connection with the guys, and the Eagles right now need a safety. Now, I'm not going to say that they need to come out here and draft for positional need. I still think you have to go with the philosophy of drafting the best available. But if this guy is for some reason there at the end of the first round, I could even see Howie trading up, because every mock draft I've seen has him going in the mid-20s. If he's there, like, say realistically at 26, I could see Howie trading up. I really could, because he just makes so much sense. And, they say, yeah, Howie's never drafted a safety in the first round. Well, he never drafted a corner in how long, right? And the Eagles hadn't drafted corners early. Look what they did last year. Look at how much success it led to. So if this guy's here and they have a good grade on him, and they bring him in and they think he's the guy, you might have to go get him. I think the Eagles could be locking in on Malachi Starks. Now, maybe they just go the traditional draft in the trenches route, but Starks would be a really good addition. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles have announced their cap hits for Zack Baun. $4.3 million this year, $7.5 the next year, and $11.7 in 2027. And they can cut him that year if they want, save $2 million in cap space. So pretty much a 2-year deal. Eagles continue to find ways to work magic with the numbers. And ESP says likely restructure prior to 2027 or release him depending on how it goes. So again, we always hear the initial number, the initial years, we get a little bit frantic, but then we kind of dive in deeper, and the way they structure these deals are just top tier, man, and they do it a lot better than other teams. Azeez Ojulari only has a cap hit of $1.6 million this year. Overall, each of their 10 free agent signings average out to cap hits of 1.3. That is just amazing work by Howie Roseman. That's just amazing work, and he's doing what he needs to this offseason, patching up the holes and, not spending too much money. He says Eagles have around $22 million in cap space left after all of their moves. So we'll see what happens, man. But I expect the Eagles to add a bunch of young, dynamic playmakers in the draft. Some of them we will probably see here in year one. They have a big job to do, and we'll see how it plays out. But appreciate everybody for tapping in. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you all on the next one.